Hello and welcome to the Hangout on Bell the Cat. I'm Ravi Handa, founder of handakafunda.com. And today we are here to discuss some tips and tricks and some last minute strategies for CAT 2014. And with me here is Kaushik Saha, who has done really well in CAT in his days. And by really well, I mean he did get 100 percentile and all India topper. So welcome, Kaushik.
Thank you, Ravi. Thanks for the nice introduction. It's nice talking to you and hopefully to your students.
Sure. So Kaushik, I think first of all, what we need to talk about or what we need to discuss and what a lot of people are very bothered about is how should they use their time during the exam. So the paper is 170 minutes. What should be done in that?
Firstly, see, I mean, like the exam is day after tomorrow, and I guess some people are also taking on the November 22nd. So the first thing is that what has been done yet for preparation so far is done. There should be no change of strategy, no such any different thinking at this point of time. Now coming to your question, how should the students utilize the time? Well, of course, I hope every one of you who are writing the exam has developed a strategy. Now keep up to that, but still, I mean, for the first 5 to 10 minutes, I guess the authorities will give you some time to do all the fill in the blanks, write down your roll numbers, write down your details, do that. But even after the exam starts, just go through the paper once thoroughly for the next 5 minutes. I will tell you why. When you do so, you will realize the fact that there are certain sections which has easier questions, certain sections in which you can do well, certain sections which if you target early, you will have a certain momentum. Now this period of first 10 minutes is very crucial, because if you utilize them and use this, like as I said, to look at the question paper thoroughly, this will save you a lot of time towards the end when you'll be rushing to read the question papers to check whether you have left out any section which you could have done better. There will be no regrets later. I can guarantee one thing, that this 10 minutes would ensure that you won't have any regrets. Now attempting the question paper. Well,
Sure.
First 10 minutes, you have kept some time, last 10 minutes for revision, in between as your strategy, as you planned some time back.
Yeah. So that's where I like to come in. I'll fully agree with Kaushik. Keeping it flexible is really important. But if you're looking for some kind of pointers, allocate 13 minutes each to logical reasoning, data interpretation, and reading comprehension. It'll be very easy to identify those questions because they will always be in sets. And that should do the trick, so to say. And after that, so if 90 minutes are gone, the rest of should be distributed among the two parts which are left, which are quantitative aptitude and verbal ability.
Well, yes, Ravi, I completely agree with you. I mean, like this is actually, I myself did something pretty similar. I mean, I distributed, like at the end of the day, see what MBA colleges look at when they correct the question paper. CAT is not just an exam of whether you do better than others or how much you can, attempt questions. It's always how much rational decisions you can take in a short period of time. So that's the reason why these sections are there, LR and quant and all this. So the time that you have told is actually very close to the perfection that actually students can take, just because it will give equal stress to all the three sections. It will give out a message without actually writing a single word to the professors or who would be taking your interview, that you have the capacity to take quick decisions, like allocate time, maybe judge the importance of what decisions you have to take in this short span of time. So actually that's a very good point that you made. I completely agree.
Well, that's the ideal that people can strive for.
Yes, exactly.
Kaushik, what are your opinions on the last week preparations? What do you think should be done in the last week? So some people have it in 2 days. But the other set, which is the other half, roughly 1 lakh people, what should they do in the remaining week?
Well, see, Ravi, like I come from a engineering background where we do most of the things in the last week, last
I
night,
know.
last hour. But here I would be damned if I say anything like this. See, frankly speaking, I expect all of you, like those who are taking the exam on November 22nd, to be well prepared by now. But in the last week, make no major new field of studies. Do not take up any major new thing that you have that you feel that you haven't done so far. One good thing to do would be, go through all the papers that you have written so far. In the papers that you have scored less, try to analyze which sections you did badly and why. And if there is a minor thing or two that you can tweak, and the concepts, well, if you have made a diary of all the concepts so far, just go through all those concepts. Self study at this point of time, especially those of minor concepts like Vedic maths, like the small grammar, like the grammatical errors that one can do, and all these things is very useful in the last week.
Sure. See, that's the reason I have always been advising that there should be no serious studies in the last 1 week. And if possible, avoid mocks a day or two before CAT. Another
Yes.
very important thing that you need to do is that you should revise important formulae. And if you have them, as Kaushik pointed out, in a well and
In a note, like basically you have
but
written down a diary.
you can download it from my website. So we have a list of you download it from or just email on ravi@gmail.com and you can download it and I'll send it. And most you need to relax because it's not something that you could panic. So
See, I mean, again, like, firstly, I would like to say that, in our time, we had such thing as like, without, trying to say that Ravi Handa is doing a great thing or something like that, but simply we had such formula concised for us. Basically, all we had to do was rely on the notes that we had made for the past 6 to 8 months. Yes, and on the relaxing bit, I agree with that completely. But relaxing does not mean that, you will just loiter around, go around, like watch a movie or two. No, that's not relaxing. Relaxing is, you study for some time, you study the formula for some time, read something very light, read a storybook maybe, read the sports section of the newspapers, or watch maybe your favorite animation, take deep breaths, go for a walk in the neighborhood. While you go for a walk, just try to take in some fresh air, do some like back of the mind calculations, just try to revise some formula. So that all these things would be, make up for an ideal strategy in the last 7 to 8 days.
sure, sure. And Kaushik, when you wrote CAT, it used to happen on just 1 day.
Yes, yes.
Last year, it was held on 20 days and in 40 slots.
Okay.
This year, thankfully, it's on 2 days. That's on Saturday, or Sunday 16th, and next Saturday on the 22nd.
All right.
So, do you think that will have an impact, or what do you think about that?
Frankly speaking, see, I having been to one of the IIMs and then interacted with the professors. Well, I don't want to let out too much, but I know the professors themselves were not happy with the 20-day format. I mean, many of them had said that, it's too long and people actually didn't have the motivation and it was misused and all this. The 2 days thing is actually also lies somewhere in between. I mean, I'm a very pro 1 day format, so that, everything happens in 1 day. Having said that, 2 days is also quite good given the increasing number of people who are taking the exams. But those who are taking the exams on the 22nd, please do not consult the people who wrote the exams on the 16th. Do not read newspapers or sample answer papers, because rest assured the IIM professors have done enough to ensure that no particular set of people has a particular advantage. The question papers get made over a period of 6 months, and they have put in enough thought to ensure that the two sets are as different from each other as could possibly be, so that one set of people are not disadvantaged at all.
easier said than done, man.
Yeah,
Most of the
that's
people these days, most of the students especially, they can't wait, and this 7 day gap makes it problematic for them. But what would be ideal? I fully agree with you that you should not consult, and it might just give you some ideas that I'll try this new thing, which should not be done.
completely agree.
But the fact that it is 2 days, I think it's fundamentally better than 20 days. There is no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
Last year, for example, a lot of students faced problems because of normalization, because there were split across 40 sets, and
Yes.
people were not able to. So people believe that they did a lot better, but because of normalization, they got much lesser scores. So thankfully, all these issues will not be there,
Okay.
and that is why a couple of students have been a little perturbed with the normalization news. You should not be worried at all, because with 45,000, 50,000 people writing in the same slot, the normalization is not going to make any difference. It's a huge sample size, and the standard deviation will kind of take care of itself. So don't worry about that.
Yes.
Just do as much as you can. Which
The
brings me to my next question, which is, should you focus on accuracy or larger number of attempts, or what do you suggest about guesswork, Kaushik?
Ravi, I'd just like to clarify: is there negative marking in CAT this
Yes,
time?
yes, there is.
Okay. So as I said, to the answer to an earlier question, first 10 minutes, go through all the sections and then accordingly attempt. If there is negative marking, well, that's always a very big risk. I have known people who have just guessed blindly and got through, but that should not be the prime strategy of a person who is looking to do well. Firstly, concentrate more. I mean, if you ask me, I mean, people views can differ, but concentrate on accuracy. At the end of the day, it might so happen that the marks may not be so high, but since you are graded relatively, since it's a percentile and not a percentage, so it's always better to err on the side of accuracy rather than the err on the side of more attempts and getting a few mistakes in the process. Having said that, I mean, if you have the time when you are confident that, I have attempted the questions I could possibly have done, I have done a lot of things, now I have some time, then go for educated guesses. I'm sure all of you from different backgrounds have prepared well enough to understand and devise your own strategies on how to take educated guesses. If you have any doubts, you can always mail Ravi for that. But then do not overdo it, in the sense that do not take guesses on every question. Keep some buffer so that even when you are taking guesses, you are putting some thought behind them. That's what I would say. I mean, you can
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
different view.
See, we have a question here from Nishad, who wants to know about the normalization process with respect to gate. Because this year, the normalization process which will be followed, that will be as per gate. Now, once again, Nishant, as I was just saying earlier, you should not be bothered with all this. The amount of number of people writing the exam in each slot is so high that it is not going to make a difference. What you should focus on, as Kaushik pointed out, is on high accuracy. I would suggest that you target 100% accuracy, so that you at least land up with something like a 90 or a 95% accuracy, because that's what's going to take you forward. Kaushik, I think this is a question which you should answer. Anusha has asked, what should be my strategy for getting more than 99 percentile?
I mean, like, see, I would,
Because you did it.
see, I mean, I'll tell one simple thing. There is, you should not keep in mind, I'll try to target this much percentile or something like that. Simple thing, try as many questions as you can, try to make all of them right. If you do that, you will get 99 percentile. See, I mean, like, if you go in with a thought, oh, I will try to get 99 percentile, 98 percentile, it doesn't work that way, because there are a lot of other factors in hand, like the normalization process, the number of students taking the examination, the examination paper, your area of preference. Having said that, this is one thought I would completely discourage. I'm sorry, the lady who has asked this question, but I would not encourage this kind of thought. Just going with a positive frame of mind that I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try to answer accurately each one of the questions I try, and I'm going to maximize that number of questions I'm going to try, which I have answered accurately. If you do that, you will end up with very high percentile. I'm sure of that.
Sure. Thanks a lot, man. There is one more thing which I'd like to talk about. Since the some people are writing CAT on the 16th, and they will be writing IIFT on the 23rd. So there's that 1 week which is there. I'm so sorry for the others who are writing CAT on the 22nd and IIFT on the 23rd. But what should be done in the last 1 week for IIFT? So one thing which I like to add from my point is GK. See, IIFT has a GK section.
Yes.
And frankly speaking, most of the students who are preparing for CAT, they don't really bother about GK.
Exactly.
Especially the freshers. I don't want to generalize here, but the freshers in engineering colleges, until and unless they happen to be quizzers like Kaushik, they don't really bother about GK. So that's something that you should definitely concentrate on in the 1 week which is there.
Yeah.
And once again, we have courses specifically for GK on our website, which you can check out. But this 1 week, if you haven't studied for GK, and let's say if you don't know who the Vice President of India or the Speaker of India is, Speaker of the Parliament, you should probably be bothered with this. What do you think about IIFT, Kaushik? Did you write the exam in your day?
Yeah, I wrote the exam and I topped that exam as well. I mean, it was, but they didn't give me 100 percentile in that. They just allotted me marks and a rank of 2. But that's fine. I mean, see, in my time, the IFT was insanely tough. But what made me do well was the fact that the GK constituted a huge portion of it. But like this quizzing and GK is a very misconstrued thing. Do not be bothered. IFT GK would not ask you connect Al Pacino to Ranbir Kapoor or something like that. They won't ask you. They would simple ask for like information like, which is very commonplace. They might ask you like, who was the first woman speaker of the Lok Sabha, and they will give you 4 choices. There are 2 things to do. Do not be worried. Do not be too bothered. Things that you see around you, that will be fine. You can always go to Ravi's, the crasher he has prepared, the small notes that he has prepared. That will also help because he himself has been a quizzer and he knows what it takes. And also as a good teacher, he knows what it takes to crack that exam. Third important thing, IFT. GK is obviously very, very important. And in that sense, do not think that this might be the game changer completely. Well, 3/4 of the portion still remain CAT. It's the same. It's the same DI, LR, Quant. So be confident on those. GK, brush it up a little bit.
Yeah. Slight interruption here. The problem that I have seen with a lot of students is that they are really good with quant and verbal and all that. But the problem happens is they don't clear the GK cutoff.
Okay.
Because GK has a individual sectional cutoff in IIFT. So people scoring much above the overall cutoff, they do miss out on the sectional cutoff, which becomes a problem sometimes. So that's why I say that you need to focus on GK.
Okay. I frankly was not aware of that. Okay, yeah, that's a for me. In that case, obviously you need to take that a bit seriously. But don't be, as I said, don't be nervous about the entire thing. Take it calmly, read and like try to revise. You can always have your, if you are with your friends or with your relatives or with your parents, just discuss with them. Today I learned this thing. I mean, like, if you do it in form of a conversation, it will be much easier rather than mugging it up. Do not mug things up, it will never helps. But if you have in a conversation, it will definitely help. And Ravi's crasher, I actually went through it once. He had put it up on Facebook and on his website. It's really nice.
Sure, thanks, man. So we have Ranjosh, who has a very interesting question online. He just posted it on the page. If someone is bad in one section and exceptional in the other, how should he divide the time?
Let me tell you one thing. Well, there's life after CAT exam. That is, I'm in an MBA college, like, and then like there's life after that, which is corporate life or entrepreneurship life or whatever you want to do. The CAT exam is actually not a very big, but actually a pointer to the fact how you take decisions in life. So that's very, very important. And you will not realize this right now, but you will realize this once you have gone into the job after some time and done it. So if you, well, divide the time so that time into your strength remains almost the same across the two segments. I mean, like what you can do, say, suppose your strength in quant is 80, your strength in verbal is 40. So divide the time 40 minutes for verbal, so that 40 into 40 is 1600, and divide 20 minutes for quant, so that 20 into 80. Well, you can slightly tweak it around so that you ensure that you do slightly better in section in which you are strong, which can help you do better overall. But so that you get what I'm trying to say. So divide the
I
time
get
so
that.
that
I get that.
you are more or less have the same set of scores in both the sections, because
Correct.
that is very, very important. And often it helps, like, even see, I have seen people who have 99.9 percentile and people who have 99.5 percentile. The people with 99.5 percentile with an overall better equal distribution of marks have got into better IMs just because of the fact that they were, like,
Happens
took
all the
decisions.
time, man.
Yes.
Happens all the time.
Yes.
So, and the decision part reminded me of one thing, that that exam is 1 month later.
Okay.
And that has one full section on decision making.
Okay.
So, theoretically speaking, decision making becomes more important than quant, DI, LR, verbal, anything for the that exam. So that's why I have always believed that between CAT and SAT, the 1 month that you get, half of your time should go towards preparation for decision making.
Yes.
And it's very interesting also. Probably, personally speaking, I find the decision making section the most interesting one. So, did you write that and top that as
No,
well?
no, no. I didn't top that. I wrote that after the cat results were out, so I didn't write it with much enthusiasm.
So
But
by then you didn't need to.
no, no. But frankly speaking, I mean, like, don't take that lightly. I mean, it's a very important exam, and XLRI is one of the top colleges in India. I say it's the top four always. Having said that, see, decision making. There's a reason XLRI and other like XISS and XIMB who take the ZAT scores, like, they lay so much stress on decision making. There's a reason for that. The simple reason is that they have a somewhat higher stress on the HR related courses, even when you are doing your regular MBA, PGDM, whatever 2-year flagship program, which is not the HR one. Still they will have certain courses like that. And actually, this will actually help you in the long run when you want to go into corporate life. Then say MBA from a different entrance examination which did not lay so much stress. So this decision making thing is a very important thing, and I actually like the fact that ZAT takes it up seriously. And I would hope that you listen to what Ravi says and try to prepare accordingly.
Fully agree. That is why I have always believed, and I don't know if this would hamper me selling CAT courses. That as an exam, I have personally preferred it over CAT always. The fact that they are still doing it on 1 day, the fact that they are still a pen and paper based test, which eliminates all these doubts. The authorities are very, very responsive. Last year there was some confusion, so they came out and gave some extra calls. In terms of an exam, that has a slight edge.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think, Kaushik, while we try to get towards the end of the hangout, there are 5 tips that we had planned for CAT, and I'll just like to know your opinion on each one of them. So the first one that we have is, do not go in with a fixed target for attempting question. As in, don't go in that I'll attempt 20 in section 1 or 20 in section 2 or 25 in section 1 and 15 in section 2, because this kind of messes up with your plan. You should attempt each and every question on its merit.
Exactly.
Rather than with a fixed mindset.
Exactly.
What do you think about that?
See, I mean, like, well, I was listening to Rohit Sharma's interview after he scored the 264 yesterday, and he told that age-old thing that I treated each ball and each bowler on its merit. So have many other great people who have, done well in different fields of life. See, a fixed mentality never works well in any exam, especially for an exam like CAT, because every year the professors would love to surprise you. They would, like, you know, one year they would make the quant section insanely tough. The very next year they will make it insanely easy. Well, so two things. Firstly, last year's papers or previous papers are not always the best pointers, and secondly, fixed decisions never work. One of the reasons you take CAT is you want to become a manager sometime in life, 2 years down the line. So obviously you have to be very flexible, because as a manager you need to, in different days the work environment is completely different. CAT actually helps you make that decision, and you show that decision when you write CAT in a very flexible manner. So
Sure, sure. Another pointer that I have collected over the last few years is do not get stuck with a particular question or a particular set. That's the second tip that I like to give these students. Because a lot of times what happens is that sometimes engineering students specifically, they get egoistic about it. Okay, fine. How can I not solve a simple math geometry question? So did you also have hang-ups like that? Getting stuck in questions or sets?
no, luckily I didn't have hang-ups, but I know a person who was in my batch and very intelligent. We all thought he would be one of the 100 percentilers, if not very close and all this. But he didn't do very well simply because he got stuck on the English section. He thought he was very good with English and DI basically. Sorry, not DI, VA, verbal ability. And he didn't end up doing very well. So, and I keep telling this to anybody and everybody who asks me, well, CAT exam is not a place to show your ego. Be calm. Actually, this is the follow up on the past question, that be flexible, so that, you know, any, like, your aim is to attempt a lot of correct questions and answer them accurately. One section, well, if you get stuck in that, you miss out on valuable time. And what happens also as an additional thing is that if you can't do well in that particular section or you are stuck, your actually mind starts to think in a different manner. Am I good enough? And a lot of other doubts actually creep up. And you know, you will all, this all has a domino effect. You end up doing very badly. Whenever you're stuck with one question, just let it go. Come back to it at the end if you have any time. If you don't have any time, okay, fine. You have done well in the other answers. That you should do it.
The third tip that we have for the students is that your top priority is to clear the sectional cutoff. So if you are confident of clearing the cutoff in both sections, then and only then you should try to maximize your score. Because many times what happens is that you get a 99.5 percentile overall, but you don't clear the English cutoff or you don't clear the quant cutoff, section 1 and section 2. When that happens, I'm sure you will have some examples for that as well, Kaushik. Do you know people like that?
Exactly. I know people like that. But having said that, you know, as I've kept said at least thrice during this hangout, that, you know, you should be ready to change track any point of time. So suppose you feel that, okay, I mean, like, you are your best judge, but at the end of the day there's also a problem of uncertainty, because cutoffs are not exactly like in your hand. It might so happen that the cutoff might, you think it's would be very low and it becomes very high due to everyone doing well. Having said that, the 30-30-30 that Ravi said at the beginning, well, try and do that. Have you have done that, then come back to that equal time which you are not good at, the theory that I said, and then I'm sure you will have some time after that in which you can go back and answer all unattempted questions. But well, never be too confident that, you know, I have cleared sectional cutoff and so I'm leaving this section. Well, never be too confident on that, because you never know what others are up to.
Sure, very valid point. I think the fourth point or the fourth tip that we have is that you should not guess. More often than not, guesses are incorrect. And I think we have talked about guesses for quite some time here. So I'll just jump to the fifth point, and that's another thing which I've seen a lot of students make mistakes. That if you attempt a particular set, that is a passage in RC or a logical reasoning set or a data interpretation set, people tend to attempt all questions. And that is a mistake until and unless you are sure. So what happens is, in case of an LR, you might be correct with the entire set. But in case of a DI, maybe may not be. In case of a RC, it's extremely difficult to get
Yes.
all questions in a set correct.
Absolutely.
So that's why I say that don't attempt all questions in a set until and unless you are sure of it.
Exactly, exactly. In fact, I would exactly say exactly the same thing. Your aim should be to maximize the number of correct questions and letting go. I mean, the moment you realize that, well, fine, this is I know this part of, say, suppose there's a like 10 line passage on some very tough subject, and in DI, you read that passage, you answer the questions, you know you have answered three fairly like confidently, and you know they're right. The fourth one strikes you. Do not go back to read the DI passage again. This you will end up losing valuable time. Use the time to go to the next thing or whatever next thing you are doing. Similarly for all other sections, LR and Quant or VA or whatever. So this is a very good strategy. Never get stuck with one particular passage or whatever, or never attempt all questions unless you are 100% sure that you are getting it all right. And I would just like to say a small thing about the DI thing. I mean, this is actually, I mean, I'm sure yes, people have told you about this. Ravi has told you about this. DI, it happens with a lot of students that when they find a passage to the liking, they take it very lightly. I mean, like, I know this, I know this, I know this. Or the same goes for RC. I know this, I know this. Never try to do that. Take every passage and take every bit of information very seriously and confidently.
Rohit Sharma again. Take each ball on its merit.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think, Kaushik, we have taken up a lot of time of the students. I think we have crossed half an hour. So thank you guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. And especially Kaushik, thanks a lot for taking out time from your busy
it's a pleasure,
schedule.
It's a pleasure.
And I hope we can do this again sometime. And to all the students who are writing the exam on Saturday or on Sunday, on this Sunday or next Saturday, I'd like to sign off with the great words. May the force be with you.